Okay, Dan was talking about he wants to stick to what he's got and not look for computer driven equipment and so on. There's a lovely quote from Clint Eastwood in one of his movies. Man's got to know his limitations. I live by that. And the other thing I can suggest, Dan, if you've got a number of kids all over the place, remind them of how much it cost you and what it will cost them. Failing that, 2 words, cattle prod.
Yeah, right. That'll go over good with the parents.
Well, you may be able to borrow one from one of them.
Yeah.
You never know. Okay, Sky this month, we won't be having any meetings in July and August, I presume. So big question mark there.
I have a question. Are we having Astro Cafe next week or what's happening with that? Anyone know?
Yeah, it sort of died.
Well, the weather didn't work out, but
Yeah. Who puts up the emails? Is it James? No, it's Charles. He does it now. Oh, okay. That was right about the time he was doing his surgery and stuff. Oh, yeah. I'm with those.
okay.
And this, yeah, we could if you want. You want to do Astro Cafe? We should do it.
Hate to lose it.
Well, he's told me how many weeks left? Like, it's like 9 months.
So
Okay,
let's
sorry.
just hold, yeah, we'll have a little discussion about this after, but if we could get on with the Sky this month and then we'll.
Okay.
Sorry, Richard.
Last month I said we have a quiet sun and showed you a little movie of a not very quiet sun. That's strictly a relative term. But there's still stuff to see on the sun. And you get another chance to spot Neptune. I've never done that. I may have looked at it, but I've never known about it. Mercury is in the northwest. There's a close conjunction of Mars and Regulus. Mars is boogieing on through Leo. And a little note on the Perseids in August, because like I say, our next meeting is September, so my scope has expanded. And a threefer in August, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I noticed this on spaceweather.com, I believe. That is an aurora. Now, strictly coincidentally, that's when I was out on my deck. It was my birthday, and I looked up and I saw that same thing. Only I couldn't take a picture of it because I'm not that good with a cell phone and it's old. It sat there, it didn't move, it didn't brighten, it was just a pale streak in the sky, no flickering, no shimmering, nothing for about 6 minutes, and then in 30 seconds, gone.
Is it Steve?
I don't think so.
Well, that looks like a Steve.
Well, they had it in their aurora photographs, and if you look at the pink color, if so, I have met Steve for the first time. I didn't know what it was, and I thought, what the hell is that? And I had no clue.
I think it's a Steve. It looks like Steve to me.
Steve.
It could be, and I memorized the acronym and forgot it 30 minutes later. Something thermal,
Yeah.
velocity emissions, whatever.
That's
So-
a nice name.
And I will say it didn't look to me like an aurora because it didn't have a color. This is a photograph. So it's a time exposure and my eye doesn't do that. And I've lived in Whitehorse and I have seen more auroras than anybody has. So it may be a Steve. However, look at spaceweather.com. They took it off this morning. I tried yesterday to download this little GIF video they had on there. they've put adaptive optics on a solar telescope. How you do that, I have no idea. But they claim to be imaging features that are 20 kilometers in size on the sun. Now, the sun is 1.3 or 4 million kilometers in diameter. And they can see something that's 20. And I think, okay, this is officially voodoo. Spaceweather.com, that's the place you look. I haven't put it in this month because I'm sure you're all bored to tears. T Corona Borealis is going to blow up sometime, and it will be neat when it does. I hope.
Yeah, that's what they said the last time.
Yeah, well, you know, paint dry. Yeah. So that was something neat in the sky. Yeah,
Took exactly the same photo on June the 2nd from the Davis Bay Walk.
Yeah, you said that right.
It's exactly the same shape.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, it was around for about 5 minutes and disappeared.
It's just like at the star party.
I'll be damned. Well,
No.
I don't know what it is. It confused me completely.
I think I put it on the.
Yeah, it's on our site.
It's on the group, yeah.
Cool. Well, I stand corrected. Well, I certainly stand impressed. We've had a fair bit of auroral activity recently, and that was caused by the bunch on the right-hand side there, those sunspots. And here comes some other stuff. Apparently there's one sunspot. Every time it appears to give it a new number, that's the protocol. And one of these big ones it's come around for the third time. So yeah, there's some definite weather on the sun. I don't claim to understand it at all. But yeah, read up on the Carrington event and your sense of appreciation and horror may increase. It's the thing nightmares are made of, especially nowadays. It's not like it's just the telegraph system that will go down. No, it'll be everything. So there's your sun. It's not the most active we've seen, but it's there. Spaceweather.com. Cool site. Okay, now June 19th. So that's what, 6 days from now. In the morning, now I'm a night creature, so it's illegal for me to get up that early. 25 degrees above the southeastern horizon at 4 a.m. The little red double crosshair. This is a Stellarium screenshot, obviously. Neptune is in there. Now Saturn isn't as bright as it usually is, but you can find it. And when you can find it, come on. If you zoom in, there's Neptune. And it's about magnitude 8-ish. Yeah, something like that. Now it's high enough up, you're not looking through, 100 lengths of atmosphere. There's a star directly above, and this of course is out azimuth. Okay, so up is up. It's not tipped, so it's, right ascension and declination. If you can find that star from Saturn, it's easy to find Neptune. You can find it in binoculars, not naked eye. I've never done it, but I'm gonna try. So, good luck. Okay. Today is the 13th. And if you've got a clear view to the northwest, I don't. I'm in Davis Bay, but I look basically west, southwest. I can't see here because there's oodles of trees.
Big trees.
Yeah, go down to the Davis Bay Pier and there will be Mercury. It's much more impressive in the southern hemisphere because of the tilt of the ecliptic. However, that's its position from the 13th to the 23rd. The two stars above that ephemeris plot are Pollux on the left, Castor on the right, and yeah, Capella, the bright one, over to the right. And the northwest, yeah, you can make out the northwest compass point right above the X in the date and time splotch. So again, that's about, I can't see that well. Okay, Capella's about 12 degrees up. So those grids are 5 degrees. So it's low to the horizon. You're looking through an awful lot of air, but it's fairly bright. You can see it. I think it's first magnitude. And Mercury, of course, boogies right along. 13th through the 23rd is what's plotted there. Let me. Yes, work. Yeah, that's a real cool feature in Stellarium. You can do calculations and pick a body and do an ephemeris, which is where is it by date, and show it. Now you can't show it on a sky that moves over those dates. You can just show its path through that picture of the sky. So it's not strictly accurate. But there it is. And now, next one. We watched Mars do the big retrograde loop. As we when was it, December? It was at off the conjunction when we're directly between it and the sun. Yeah, it goes retrograde because we're passing it. It's still going around the sun, but we're going faster. So it always moves right-hand rotation that way through the sky. But when we move faster, it looks like it goes backwards, and you see the big loop that it makes in the sky. Well, it did that, we passed it, and now it's continuing on. It left Gemini, which is where it did its loop. And Regulus is the bright star at the bottom right of Leo the Lion, the backwards question mark. Easy to find. It's setting now. It goes down in the west. It's there right after sunset. And it will zip on by Regulus. If you know any kids, I found it really impressive at star parties and kid things to show them how planets move. When you've got a star right next to it, you can see it night by night. One bunch, Mars again was doing something in the sky. This is 30 years ago, easy. And I said, here's your project. Get a little notepad of paper. And I forget which stars it was. It may have been Castor and Pollux. I can't remember. And I said, I gave him a picture of it, marked the two spots and said, have your dad drill a hole through a pad of paper like this. And everyone mark the date so that the earliest on the bottom and the next one mark it for the next day and so on. So you have a pad that's like June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd, June 4th, June 5th. And each time, when you can see it, mark where Mars is relative to those stars. I said, when you're all done, you got a movie. Very low tech, not exactly up to your standards, Richard. but effective. And that was a hit. The only thing that got more likes was I took a roll of film for my camera on an 8-inch Meade, and we set it up on the hillside in Dawson City. And all the kids got to take a picture, their own picture of Saturn. And they could press it and hold it for as long as they wanted, wrote down their name, which one it was. And then I had it printed off, and each kid got the picture of Saturn that they took. And the streets are paved with gold in Dawson City for me as a result, or they were. Anyway, I digress. So Mars is gonna scoot past. And yeah, it's a good way to show off to neighbors. Perseids, August. The full moon happens right after the peak. So you've got a window before the moon comes up, because the Perseid radiant spot is above the horizon. But those are the times when the moon comes up. So you've got a bit of time before it gets too much moonlight. You can still see them if they're bright. It'll just wash out the faint ones. And you'll notice the harvest moon thing, instead of being roughly an hour later, it's only 15 minutes for moonrise because of the tilt of the ecliptic. That's what causes the harvest moon. Because as it goes north along the ecliptic each night as it's progressing to full and through it. So it rises further north and not an hour later. It rises earlier than an hour later. So you get that effect.
Peak's usually the 12th, isn't it?
Pardon?
The peak night is usually the 12th.
Yes. Yeah, you got about 5 days. You won't be able, I don't think you're able to pick them out from the random stuff for more than about 3 days on either side. I've read some stuff that says differently. Oh no, it's a week on either, whatever. I wouldn't be able to tell, but they are cool. I've seen as many as 4 of them per minute, that's awesome. There have been storms where you can't count that fast. It's like get under cover, but we'll see.
We were in Colorado above the tree line, way up in the Rockies during one of those storms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Your altitude actually doesn't have a damn thing to do with how many you see, because they're disappearing about 90 to 100 kilometers up. They burn up then. That's what makes noctilucent clouds, by the way. It's water vapor condensing directly as frost on the dust left over from meteors. They only figured that out about 30, 40 years ago. Noctilucent clouds. If you haven't seen them, they are amazing. Sun's down, all the clouds, they're all dark, and yet there's still twilight back there, and high up in the west and the north here. You can see these high, whitish, thin, cirrusy looking clouds, and they don't move much because they're 60 plus miles up. It's so thin up there, you couldn't light a candle, but here's these clouds. Noctilucent clouds. Anyway, August 12th. In the east at 5 in the morning, you got Mercury low on the horizon, Jupiter and Venus, and they're about 0.8 degrees apart. So slightly more than the width of the moon. You can get them in the same field on most telescopes, and you'll be able to see Venus as sort of a slightly fat Not, well, it's a gibbous, yeah, a gibbous Venus. And Jupiter with moons. In the same field of view. And Mr. Mitchell, I would suggest that might be a neat target.
Yeah, but
So
thinking that.
and there's the little, if the plural of ephemeris is ephemerides. I just learned that today. Because I thought. Ephemeris. Google, boom, ephemerides. You can see Jupiter is the blue one. Because it doesn't move very fast. Venus is the white one, and it does. And that, I believe, is 10 through the 16th, so 6 days. And Mercury is that little blob down on the bottom. It doesn't act, they don't have the sky track. So it doesn't account for our motion around the sun. But Mercury moves quickly. Messenger of the gods, that's how it got its name. Come on. Yeah, see, ephemerizing. That's why I learned it. You can see where Earth is on that inset up top. We're the blue one, third out. Mercury and Venus are to our right, so west of the sun. And Jupiter is in the same direction. And I have to have that in order to figure out, okay, I know it's right-hand rotation. If it's there, it's got to be doing this. But this helps me figure it out. That is a straight up shot from heavens above. If you don't have that in your favorites list, you're not taking astronomy seriously. You should. So that's it. Thank you much.
Excellent.